U.S. President Joe Biden telling reporters he's feeling good after revealing he tested positive for COVID-19 and is experiencing mild symptoms. The White House says Biden is now self-isolating at his Delaware home, impacting his ability to hit the campaign trail at a critical moment. Biden is now facing new pressure from several senior Democrats who are also some of his closest political allies. Congressman Adam Schiff became the most prominent Democrat yesterday to publicly call on Biden to drop out of the presidential race, saying he has serious concerns about whether Biden can defeat Donald Trump. Well, this news comes as Biden's campaign continues to bleed support. So what impact will this have on Biden's bid for re-election? And what will the next few months ahead look like for the incumbent? To answer these questions and more, I'd like to bring in Antoine Seawright. He's a Democratic strategist, and we've reached him in Las Vegas this morning. Thank you for making the time. First of all, Biden tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday, and he will self-isolate for a few days at this critical juncture in the election. So what impact will this pause have in his campaign?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. Look, certainly my prayers are with the president, and I wish him a speedy recovery. Was with him the past several days at several events, and certainly we know that COVID-19 still exists, and so we should all continue to be careful and be thoughtful about how we move out and about. The good news is, if there's some good news to that, the president has lived through COVID, inherited from the former president during the 2020 election cycle, where he was able to marshal the United States of America through one of the worst health challenges in most of our lifetimes, end up being one of the worst financial crises in most of our lifetimes, because he provided the Affordable Connectivity Program that allowed internet household to be available for millions of Americans all around this country. We know that we can still virtually interact with the American people, including the everyday voter here in this country. So we've been through this before, and that's why experience matters on this job.
Now, Mr. Seawright, the pressure on Biden to drop out is increasing, and we mentioned that Adam Schiff is now taking the highest-ranking Democrat to call for Biden to pass the torch. So how big of a deal is this?
Well, it depends on who you listen to. I subscribe to the notion that elections are won on Main Street and my street, not from voices on K Street. As a Democratic Party, we pride ourselves on the diversity of our party, the big tent, as some would describe it. And look, I think because of that, we should always respect the wishes, concerns, fears, hopes, and aspirations of those within our party or under the tent. However, voters decide elections. And when it comes to our nominees for both president and vice president, 14 million Americans from the East Coast to the West Coast decided that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris should be our nominees for president and vice president. Because in our party, we respect the will of the voters, and because we believe that the expressions given at the ballot box should be embraced, and that's what we should lean upon and accept. I don't think politicians in Washington, D.C., who, by the way, are elected by those same groups of people, should decide whether or not Joe Biden and Kamala Harris should not continue as our nominees for the two highest offices in our country.
Now, Schiff is a close ally of former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Would he have done this without consulting her?
I'm not sure, and I do not want to speculate. Obviously, true friends do not make real decisions without consulting with true friends. But again, I'm not in the business of speculating. Certainly, we've seen reports from also the former speaker about her feelings and her thoughts on the race and what a plan looks like to move forward. And I think we should respect all of those things. However, I do believe that people decide elections, not pollsters, not pundits, not politicians, especially in July. What I hope my party will continue to do, or what we will do in a hurry, is unify around this idea of defeating Trump, Vance, and the extremism that comes along with that. Add that with Trump and Vance's Project 2025, which is consist of extreme right-wing policies that would take the progress in this country we've made as Americans full steam backwards. I hope you will unite around that fact and not get caught up in these attention-grabbing headline notions that some are buying into.
Now, in an interview yesterday, Biden said he would consider dropping out of the presidential race if medical condition emerged. So what does that signal to you?
It signals to me that Joe Biden is not a selfish leader. It signals to me that Joe Biden understands that his health is his wealth. It also signals to me that Joe Biden has complete confidence in his running mate, Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, in that should there be some type of emergency of any kind, that he's confident that she can step in and do the job.
And while the Republican Party is uniting behind Trump, the Democratic Party is in disarray. So what do you think it will take for Democrats to show unity?
Well, where I'm from in rural South Carolina, there's an old adage on the back porch that we learned growing up that there's no education in the second kick of the mule. We've seen what has happened before when Democrats have not been unified. The residue and the aroma of the 2016 election will live on for generations because we were not unified around one of the most perhaps qualified person to ever seek the office of presidency. And we also seen what a unified front looks like when Joe Biden became our nominee in 2020 and we defeated Donald Trump at the ballot box. So we have two scenarios to look back in retrospect and learn from. In campaigns, two things happen. You win and or you learn. You never lose, in my opinion. But sometimes when you win, you do not always learn because you think you've gotten it all right. I think there's a lesson for us in 2016. I think there's a lesson for us in 2018, certainly a lesson in 2020, and a true lesson in 2022 when the polls indicated that we would not be successful at the ballot box. This big red wave was going to happen. It ended up being a red tinkle, and we defeated Trumpism at the ballot box. The only difference between 2022 and 2024 is that Trump and Vance collectively are on the ticket, along with Project 2025, Trump's Project 2025, and we must defeat all those things at the ballot box.
All right, thank you so much for your perspective on this morning. That's Antoine Seawright. He's a Democratic strategist.
Thank you.